Hello everyone, Spike here, and welcome to a new edition of the Dragon's Den. So, let's talk about Popufurs. Now, what's the first thing that comes to mind when you hear the word Popufur? Some would think of Uncle Kage and Chew the Ranching Griffin, others would think of artists like Zen and Lizardbeth, and even fursuits have gained that status. Obviously, these are furs that have a lot of popularity, but the term has become ambiguous because of the furries' different perceptions of what a popufur is, both good and bad. Yes, some furries actually think that popufurs are actually evil and have no care in the world about others, but I'll get to that in a minute. I have seen a lot of great artwork in fursuits over the 5+ years I've been active in the fandom, yet some don't seem to get the recognition that comes with it. Not to say that it depends on the type of work and the quality. Where I'm getting at is, aside from those aspects, furs just seem to prefer one over the other. So I've been wondering, what makes a popufur? Now please don't take anything I say here as a guide to get popular. If you are, you're just an attention whore. This is just an analysis. First, let's take a look at what a popufur is. A popufur is a combination of the words popular and furry. So obviously it means a popular fur. Though this definition is very broad, so it is usually labeled to furs out of the whole fandom. But where does this popularity come from? I decided to take a look at some various examples of some of the most popular artists, but because there are so many pieces of artwork and different styles used, it's hard for me to find out any major differences based on just their artwork. Some furs like headshots, while others like doing a detailed, realistic Da Vinci. So there has to be something more to it. So I asked a few furs about artists, and I'm not even sure myself of what to think. And who can blame me? There are so many artists out there, and even if I did find anything on what makes a popufur, the commissions that artists would get would either be because a fur knows them personally, or the word of their works get out into the open. It's just part of business. Now let's go to the topic of popular fursuits. This one is easier for me to look at, since I am one myself. I have seen thousands of fursuits through just meeting them or just looking at photos. The kinds of fursuits vary. You got the cartoonish ones and you have the realistic. But there are two patterns that I've noticed on popular fursuiters. The first one is quite obvious. It's because their fursuits look cool. And the second is dependent on the fursuiter himself. The factor of both of them? Uniqueness. Furs seem to like fursuits or fursuiters because they have something that others don't. Let's take, for example, one of my favorite fursuits, Cryo. The fursuit is just badass. A lot of fursuits you see just doesn't stand out because it just looks like everyone else. Not saying that there's anything wrong with it. But here you have an Arctic Wolf character with black and silver armor with black spandex with the look of a futuristic warrior. It just stands out and you just want to come up and snap photos. This will go under the first pattern I've mentioned. An example of the second pattern would be a fursuiter that I've become great friends with, Tilt Longtail. One of his fursuits, Gryfer, is put through what no other fursuiter would have ever dared go through. His slapstick comedy has drawn in hundreds, if not thousands, of views. And other fursuiters have joined in on the, fun, though very few. So after all that, why would furs hate them? Well, let's take a look at a few of their arguments. They're only popular because they draw porn. Well, let's think about this. There is a demand for YIF art. And for those of you who complain about the mere existence of YIF in the fandom, it's something you shouldn't be worried about. If you don't want to see it, then don't. It's none of your business. So, let's say you have two artists. One draws YIF, the other doesn't. While both can draw art for general audiences, the market that wants YIF art will go to the artist that draws YIF. So you have to expect that those that draw YIF will get more furs that want commissions from them. On top of that, I've seen artists that don't draw YIF art and still get a lot of attention. Furs have to understand that they should be more concerned about the quality of the art and not what's in it. They think they're above everyone else. Well, actually, from my personal experience, I've found them quite friendly. Even one of the most well-known furs, Chew the Ranching Griffin, usually has a table in the dealer's stand, and he's very approachable. Now, I haven't met one personally that has been a dick, but don't get me wrong, I'm sure that there's one bound to be out there, but talk to get to know them first. The outrageous prices they charge for a commission. Yeah, just like Apple's products. If you really have a tight of a budget, then go somewhere else. I did hear stories about commissions going for hundreds of dollars. If that's what first want to pay, well, it's their money. So why should everyone else care? There are lots of artists out there to choose from. It's just economics. Heck, I've seen full fursuits go for $10,000 and they normally go for at least $1,500. And that's just a few of the arguments I hear. But the first thing that comes to my mind when I hear all this is stereotyping. And of course, all of us should know what that's like. The word popufur has now been likened to the N-word. I've seen shirts with popufur placed on them, and after all my research, I'm surprised at how much negativity the word has gotten placed onto it. So popufurs, good or bad? Well, here's a better question. Who cares? It's just a word that means that a fur is very popular, nothing more. They're just like the popular kid in school. Choose who you want to see yourself, and don't complain about something about popufurs that shouldn't matter to you in the first place. Before you start labeling someone else, get to know them first. Ask questions, have a conversation, write an email, anything. It's not that hard to do. I am Spike Pap, and I thank you for joining me in the Dragon's Den.